So, hi class, welcome to another lecture on our series 102. So, yesterday we are still continuing actually with the June 10 folder. We had two programs remaining yesterday. So, just open folder and select for June 10, right? So, when you select for June 10, we just had two programs left out of yesterday. So, we will just see that and then we continue for today's lecture. So this program is about dynamic memory allocation of struct, right? So dynamic memory allocation you have already seen previously, right? So dynamic memory allocation basically refers to malloc allocation, right? Because see, when we make use of arrays, let's say we make use of array of let's say 25, and then we enter only 5 elements. So we waste 20 elements in the structure, right? Now let us see this program. So we have a structure person. As just a small revision, structure is again a user defined data type. So you have integers, floats, etc. Structure is again something which you define for your own self. So in this, we are defining a structure person having three characteristics. We are taking an age, which is an integer. We are taking a float, which is weight, and we are taking name, which is of 30 characters. So the total space occupied by the structure is 30 plus 4 plus 4, which is 38 bytes, right? So now we just do system.cls, okay? To just to clear the output for Mac and Linux, you can use clear, clear, right? So in this, when you are having a dynamic structure allocation, so what do? We declare a pointer to a structure. See, we are having a struct person, and you can see this is struct person and star ptr, right? So basically this is a pointer representing to this particular structure type. So eventually what will happen here is like, just a minute. So we have struct structure person, and then we have age, weight, and character. Integer 8, age, float weight, and character 30, and you end the structure by semicolon. So what is the total size occupied by this? So let me change. So this will be the age. This is 4 bytes. This is the weight. Again 4 bytes. And this is the name. This is 30 bytes. Total is 30 plus 4, which is 38 bytes. So when I declare a pointer to the structure, let's say the base address is 2000. So the star PTR will basically point to the base address, and if I do PTR plus plus, it will be incrementing by a size of the structure, which is 2038, then 2076, and so on. And within structure, let's say because this pointer is pointing to the whole structure, we have to use the arrow operator. Print arrow age represents this particular box. PTR weight represents this particular box, and so on. So let us see the program. Here we are asking the user to enter n number of persons. How many persons do you want, right? So if you remember when we did an array example, if we are taking an int array, so what we are saying malloc, right? So let's say these are 5 persons entered here. So 5 into size of structure. So what is the size of structure? It is age, weight, and name. So 30 plus 4 plus 4, 38 bytes. And then because malloc returns a void pointer, we need to typecast it into a structure object. Why? Because we are allocating the memory location of a structure, right? And then the standard input, for example, if you have n inputs, you just take a for loop of n. and similarly for displaying the information, right? So you can see now we are using PTR of I, right? PTR basically gives you the base address and then you are incrementing with respect to I. In the first case, I will be 0, so that is the base address. When you do I plus plus, it will be base address plus 1, which is base address plus the next one. So let us just see the execution, enter the number of persons, let's say 3 persons, first name and this. So let's say Ramesh and the age is 15. Then we keep Sanjana and the age is, let's say, 14. And then we, let's say, keep Sachin, the age is 39. So just a standard execution, just you would have liked to use the use of arrays, right? So let us try. Okay. So the only new thing here is this particular structure object declaration. Now you may ask that, okay, the structure comprises of integer, float as well as character, right? So when you do a typecasting, you basically do the typecasting for the entire structure object. Why? Because PTR is a type of structure object. So hence you allocate the size of the structure and then to the size of structure you again typecast it into a structure type of object, right? So this is how you can work with both dynamic allocation as well as structure together. So the last code for the yesterday was the passing of structure by reference. So you have already seen the program to pass by reference and pass by value. So what used to happen in pass by reference? Remember, you used to pass swap ampersand a ampersand b and then collect it as star x and star y. Same thing happens here. So again, I'm defining type def. So what does type def do? So structure complex, I'm referring to as complex. So this complex is lowercase and this complex is C with a capital C, right? So basically these are two different things. So now instead of writing struct complex, I can just write small complex that will basically be equivalent to struct complex because I am using type def, right? So as you know, complex numbers are composed of a real part and an imaginary part, right? So this structure has two variables. We have a real and an imaginary part. So what I'm doing in the main, so I'm writing complex. So just for a quick revision, instead of complex, I can also write struct complex, right? It's one and the same thing. So I'm having C1, C2 and result, right? So C1, C2 and result are my three variables. In terms of C++, these are three objects. So for first number, I am taking from user the real part and the imaginary part. Similarly, for the second number, I am taking the real part and the imaginary part, right? Now, basically, I need to add the two real numbers. So as we all know, what happens with the real number addition is like, so if I have a number like 5 plus 3i and let's say 6 plus 9i. So when we add this, just a second. So we have 5 plus 3i and 6 plus 9i. So when we add this, so we add the real to the real, this becomes 11 and the imaginary to imaginary, which becomes 12i. Fine. So now here we are doing, you can see I'm passing C1 and C2, right? So let me just execute the code. So let me just write here system CLS. So the first part, let's say I'm entering 5 and the second part I'm entering 2. For the second real part I'm entering 6 and for the second imaginary part I'm entering 3. So 5 plus 6, right? The real and real will get added to 11 and 2 plus 3, the imaginary part is getting added to this. So now instead of adding them in the main directly, so it's easy, right? You just add real plus real and you add imaginary plus imaginary, right? So I have the third variable result. So see how I'm passing, because I'm passing it by reference. What do? I basically pass ampersand result. So what I'm passing the address of this particular structure variable, which is result. So I'm passing the base address of this, and this base address I am basically collecting as a star result, right? So I'm collecting this as star result. And now what I am doing, see, because I am passing as a pointer, we know that we have to use the arrow operator, right? Now since I'm passing the address here, so that means all the changes that I do will be reflected in the main, just like that happened for the swap function, right? So what happens here, I'm passing C1 and C2. See, C1 and C2, I'm not passing the address, so I'm passing the value. So the entire copy of C1 gets copied in this C1, entire copy of C2 gets copied into this C2. Finally, I'm passing this result as a reference. So I'm collecting this as a pointer. So now what I'm doing, the base address and then pointing to the real, I am saying, okay, add both the reals. And for the imaginary part, I am adding both the imaginary. Note that I am returning type as void. Why? Because I need not return the result because it's anyways passed by reference. So the changes will also take place in the main, which you can see in this particular example, right? So let's say if I just use this particular loop here also, this particular part of code. So result, okay, this was by pointer. So this has to be like this. For the real part, let's say this, and for the imaginary part, so you can see in the function it is displaying 11 and 5, and in the main also it is displaying 11 and 5, right? So this was just a very small introduction. So how can you pass structure objects by reference, right? So there is of course a variety of application of structures. You can also use structure with, as I said, the data structures like stack, linked list, queue, binary tree, and all those things that we will cover in the later part of the syllabus. So now again, just come to the file option. So let me just see for file, open folder, and now come on the June 15 folder. June 15. So along with structure, there is also an interesting concept known as union. So what is the difference between a structure and a union? It is just a very small difference. So let me just see for any screen. Okay, so in this particular example, you can see I have a union as well as structure. Now, what is the difference between structure and union? There is a very little difference. See, like structure, union is also a user-defined data type. What do I mean by user-defined data type? It is just like, for example, in structure, you define something of your own, like an integer float. You define your own complex data type. Union also does the same thing. The only difference between union and structure is how the memory location is shared. So let me just show you this example. See, I'm having exactly the same structure, right? I'm having a structure job and I'm having a union job, fine. And if you see the content of this, they are exactly the same. Character name is 32, float is salary, and integer worker number. And along with this, I am also declaring a object to this, right? I am declaring a variable for this union. I am declaring the variable for this particular union. Now just let us see the output for this code. See, it says size of the union is 32 bytes and size of the structure is 40 bytes. Now, why does this difference actually come, right? Both of them are like 32 is for the character, 4 bytes for float, 4 bytes for integer. So obviously, the size of the structure is 40 bytes. And in the size of union, it is only showing us the 32 bytes, right? Now this is the property of union. So what does union do? Union actually shares the memory between the objects. Now what do I mean by sharing of memory? So let us back to the dashboard. It's working fine. Somehow my pen is behaving weird these days, so I just write some test characters. So how do we do this? So let's say we have a union. So we have character name, float salary, and we have integer the work number, right? And similarly for struct, you have the same three things. See, now just remember how this works. So individually what we will do, we will take the size of each particular element, right? So what is the size of character 32? It will occupy 32 bytes. Float, it occupies 4 bytes. Integer, it occupies 4 bytes, right? So 32, 4 and 4. So now for union case, the memory is shared. So what do I mean by memory is shared? As a simple explanation, what do you remember is like size of union is equal to the max size of an element. So if you can see in the union, I have 32 bytes, 4 bytes and 4 bytes. So it will be max of 32, 4 and 4. So what is the max? It is 32. So the union will basically use 32 bytes for storing everything. In the same 32 bytes, it will store the name. In the same 32 bytes, it will store the salary. In the same 32 bytes, it will store the worker number. An obvious doubt will be, in that case, we can use only one record at a time. I will explain you what do I mean by that. However, in case of structure, it is just the summation. Summation means for structure, just sum up all the elements. So in case summation of 32 plus 4 plus 4, which is equal to 40 bytes, right? So this is how structure elements basically work. So this is the difference between a structure. So we will just see more examples here. So now see what is the advantage and the disadvantage of using union. See, union, basically the concept came when we had very little memory space in computers, and every byte saving was very much essential. So for example, in this particular case, let's say you have union job. We have float salary and integer worker number. Fine. So let me just go to next. Right. So we have a union, let's say job. Oh, so we have integer work number and float salary. So how much space occupied by integer is 4. Float, how much space it takes? It takes a 4 bytes. So in union, what is the max of 4 and 4 is equal to 4, right? So total memory allocated is only 4 bytes. So now the obvious question will be, if I'm using only 4 bytes, I can store either worker number or salary at a given time, right? So this is my union and this is 4 bytes. So now let us see what happens here. So for example, so what I'm saying, because this is my shared space, this is my shared space. So now just see what happens when I'm declaring j as a variable of the union, just like for structures. When I'm saying j dot salary, fine. So when I'm saying j dot salary is 12.3, right? So I am having this as 12.3. Fine. Now this is stored here. Now what I'm doing, I am actually now assigning also j dot worker number. Now since the memory location is paid, right, the worker number is 100. So what will happen? This box will be overwritten by 100. And you basically lose the value of 12.3. So now just see, I am outputting both the variables salary as well as worker number. So let me just run the code. Okay, let me use system.clear. Oh, I need to include stdlib also. So you can see it is showing salary as 0 and the number of worker is as 100. Why? Because as you see we had salary as 12.3, but because the memory location is shared, it can only hold one value at a time. For example, if I, let's say, do the printf here in this particular case, it will come properly. Now let's see, I am running the code. So you see salary is coming as 12.3, and then I am assigning the same location as 100, and then the worker location is coming properly, right? Again, if I say you, let's say I assign the salary as, let's say, 15.3 here. Now again this particular line output will be gone. Why? Because now 100 will be replaced by 15.3. So this is a shared memory access. So let me just execute the code. So you can see because it is overwritten by 15.3, so it displays some garbage value. Because anyways that was written by an integer value, and then I am accessing it in the shared memory location which was overwritten by some other value. So the only thing that you remember here is that in union, for example, if this was a structure, right? So the total space would have been 4 plus 4 equal to 8 bytes. So then structure, there is no issue because structure assigns individual elements to its own space. So this would have been a worker number and this would have been a salary. So both the elements I can put in their individual boxes, but not in the case of union. In the union, the memory is shared. And how it is shared, you just calculate the max of all the individual union elements. Right? So guys, let us take a break for 5 minutes and then we shall be back. Okay guys, so again just illustrating the concept of union. So by default unions are also basically done globally. Like you can see this, that it is declared outside the main. Fine, union is declared globally just like outside the main. You can also declare union locally, something like of this sort. So in this case, this union number where I am taking two numbers, float and int, again 4 bytes. So the maximum of 4 and 4 is 4, right? So now you will see how we can optimize the usage of the location, right? So just imagine the years of 1970s and all when C was written. So imagine the 4-bit processor, right? So today we are using 64-bit. So 4-bit processors, the first Intel 4-bit microprocessor came in 1971. 4004 was the code name, right? So 4-bit processor means the maximum memory locations you have is 2 raised to 4, 16, right? So a 2 raised to 32 basically has 16 bytes. So just imagine what would you be able to do in 16 bytes of memory location. 16 bytes, right? Not also kilobyte, bytes. So technically you had the space to just store 4 integer values, right? So now see how can we optimize the use of this. So in this case you can see whenever you are using union, take one value, process it, and then take another value, right? For example, if I just want to take the input and display the values, so see how nicely it can be done through union with an optimal use of space. So I'm taking the value of n1, which is nothing but the integer, right? Ampersand x1. So integer is, let's say, 5. Then I'm taking the value of n2. So I'm taking the value and displaying it, right? So the moment you take the value, display it. So this is, let's say, 6.3. I'm taking the value 6.3, but if I'm using this value, you can see I'm commented here lost. Why? Because we are sharing the memory location. We can also do the reverse manner. So let's say I'm taking the value of n1 again. Let's say I'm taking it 9. So I take the value of n1 and now the n2 value is lost, right? So just the same example through different lens. So the thing here is that in union, now of course nobody uses union because you have enough space available in your memory. But as I said, remember the older times when you had a 4-bit microprocessor or a 8-bit microprocessor. So at that times union were used. So you take a value, process it and dump it. You take another value, use it and dump it, right? So another example of union. So let us now see the size of the union. So in this case, what happens? we have a character size of 1, integer is 4, and float of 4, right? So what is the maximum of? Maximum of 144. So it will occupy 4 bytes in total. So let us run the code. So you can see the size of character is 1, size of integer is 4, and size of float is 4. So the size of union basically becomes 4 bytes, max of 144, right? So these are all just size of operators, right? Now you see how I'm processing this. So first I use x dot c, right? C stands for character. So I'm storing x dot c character. See, even though the character takes 1 byte in the memory, the total union occupied location will be actually 4 bytes. So the rest of the three spaces will remain blank. Right? So let me just see. So basically you can see x dot c is n, which is 9, which is n. Then I'm using an integer, which is 10. So I'm storing 10, and then I'm storing a float value, which is stored perfectly. So in this you see, because I'm using a shared location, I use the variable and I immediately display it, right? Because if I store everything together and then display everything together, it will again throw a garbage value. So in the union, you take the value, process and forget. Take the value, process and forget, right? So that is how union basically works. Now we see how to differentiate between a structure and a union, right? So let me just open up this page for you. So let me just show you how this happens actually. So now you may feel, okay, union ABC, right? So this is again a very important code. And yesterday somebody asked me, are the structures basically located adjacent to each other? Are the structure element located adjacent to each other? That particular answer you will get in this particular program. Now if you see union ABC, we have character which is 1 byte, float is 4 bytes, and again, sorry, integer is 4 bytes, float is again 4 bytes. So 144. So what is max of 144? Right, this is 4. So basically if you can see, the size of union is 4 bytes. Now you can see in structure what happens. In structure basically it is the summation of everything which I told you. So this is 1 byte. Now this is 4 bytes and this is 4 bytes. So this technically should have been 1 plus 4 which is equal to 9 bytes. But if you see the output, in the output the size of the structure is shown as 12, right? Now why does this 12 come, right? So the concept here is, so let me just put an enter here. I will give the link for the Geek for Geek links page also. So just let me copy this URL and open this. Right? So what happens here, just a little reading that I will be doing. The size of structure is not always equal to the size of sum of each individual member. Right? Now why is not equal? Because of the padding added by the compiler to avoid alignment issues. I will just tell you what is an alignment issue. So padding is only added when structure member is followed by a member which is larger than size or at the end of the structure. So we will just see an example. So now see, in this particular case, I am having a structure which is having an integer x, double z, and a short of y, right? So integer takes 4 bytes in the memory, double takes 8 bytes in the memory, and integer basic, a short integer takes 2 bytes in the memory. See now what happens is, in this particular case the size of structure is 24. Now why it is 24? So you can just see this particular diagram, right? So now what happens, we have a x as integer. Okay, let me just go to the dashboard. Okay, pen color is, let's say, black. We have integer x, let's say double y, and let me keep the same variable x, z and y. Okay, this is x, z and shortened y, right? This takes 4 bytes, this takes 8 bytes, and this takes 2 bytes. So the moment structure is read from top to bottom, right? I am reading integer x first. So it allocates 4 bytes. This is for x. Now what the structure assumes is that now I will replicate everything in terms of 4 bytes, because the first variable I encountered was 4 bytes. Now the moment it sees, okay, this is 8 bytes, can I allocate 8 bytes into 4 bytes? Like assume we have a 4 byte cupboard here, right? This is a 4 byte cupboard here. Can I allocate 8 bytes here? No, you cannot allocate 8 bytes here. So what does the compiler say? Okay, now I cannot allocate 4 bytes into this, so I will pad this to a blank space. And now I will allocate complete 8 bytes here. Now this is allocation to Z, right? Now what is the maximum size of the member? Initially it was 4 bytes and now it is 8 bytes. Now what will the structure do? Because it is referring to an 8 byte element, even though the next element is of 2 bytes, it will actually allot 8 bytes, right? It will actually allot 8 bytes to it, right? Now the logic behind this is like, as I said, what is an alignment issue? Now if you can see, the maximum size of element was 8 bytes. So now because the maximum element of is 8 bytes and it appeared in the second iteration, right? In the first was integer x, which was just 4 bytes. Then we had double, which was 8 bytes. Now when it allocated 8 bytes, henceforth all the elements, even though they require less than 8 bytes, the compiler will actually allot 8 bytes to it, just to avoid the alignment issues, right? So now I will give you another example. How can you optimally design this? So you can see here, in case of y, because it required only 2 bytes, the rest of the 8 bytes were kept as blank. But you can see this x basically was 4 bytes. So 4 bytes was wasted here just to keep the alignment. This was 8 bytes. So the entire 8 bytes band is occupied. And this was again 2 bytes. So we basically wasted 6 bytes more. So now let us take a case 2. So in case 2, what happens? I am giving double z before x, right? So you can see in this particular case it was integer double s. So you can remember IDS, right? Integer double short. In this particular case, what is happening? I am coming up with double first, then integer, and then short integer. So now see what happens in this particular case, the size of struct is 16 instead of 24. Now why that happens? Because size of double is 8 bytes. So when we come back to the dashboard, now we are having double z. So this was 8 bytes. So I will allot 8 bytes to here directly, right? Double is given 8 bytes. Now I am coming across integer and shortened. Integer x is 4 bytes. So the compiler will actually allot 8 bytes again, just to avoid the issue of alignment. But out of this 8, it knows that integer will take 4 bytes, right? So we still have a space of 4 bytes remaining here, right? Now then it sees, okay, I am getting a short int y. So now it sees, okay, even though I can have 4 similar bytes, I can now actually pack the 2 bytes here, right? So it basically packs the 2 bytes here itself. Now imagine even if you had another short int, let's say a here, that short int would have taken 2 bytes, that would have been packed up to this location. So the size of the structure would have still remained 16 only, right? Now let us see what happens in the last code. So in the last code, I am having double z, and then I am declaring a short int of y, right? So now what happens here? So I have a double z, right? So I am allocating 8 bytes. So the moment I see a short int, even though I know that short int is only 2 bytes, I will again allocate 8 bytes to avoid the alignment. but short is only taking 2 bytes here, right? So the moment now I come across 2 bytes here, right? Now the compiler will think, okay, now I will allot everything in bytes of 2, right? Everything in bytes of 2. So now it again encounters x. Can x, which is an integer, come in 2 bytes? No. So what it does, it requires 4 bytes, right? Now since it requires 4 bytes, 2 are already occupied, so it pads for the remaining 2 bytes. And now what is the remaining space? Remaining space is 4. So the integer basically comes at this particular location, 4 bytes. I think this example is a very crystal clear example. How do you actually allot the structure variables, right? Okay, why the max size 8 byte in a line? That is just for a representation purpose, because in this structure we have a double which is of 8 bytes, integer which is of 2 bytes, and shortened, sorry, an integer of 4 and shortened of 2. So the max of 8, 2 and 4 is 8, right? If we had a long double which would have taken 12 bytes, so in that particular case one line would have been taken a space of 12. Yeah, if the size, one of the doubt by Kaivalya is, if the size of a character variable is 40 bytes and we store only 36 bytes, and there is one integer also in the union, will it be lost? Yes, it will be lost, because even let's say you define a character array of 100, right? And you are defining one character which is, let's say, just a single character which takes 8 bytes in the memory, and you have 92 bytes left out. It will be still it will still occupy the entire 100 bytes. So even if you are storing an integer which is again 4 bytes, it will still be overwritten and will be shown a garbage value. So guys, in the program, basically this link is there. I would advise you all to open this link and just try to get a feel. So in this case, you will ask, okay, what is the best way to store the structure? The best way to store a structure is to store into a descending order. Descending as mean the highest element which is occupied comes first, then the second highest, and then the third highest. So this particular case is an ideal case for a structure storage. This ensures the least wastage basically that happens to a structure element. Okay, let me just try to execute this. All right, size of structure is 16, and let me just keep this a. See guys, in this case I'm actually adding a shortened a. The size actually still remains as 16 only. So long story short, it is better to store in the descending order, right? So in this case, see, this was not a descending order. This was 4, 8 and 2. So you can see your memory was wasted. You actually took 24 bytes for this, right? So the giveaway for this particular talk was, whenever you are using a structure, you store the highest element first. So in the previous example when we were doing, if both the elements are of same size, then there is of course no issue. But let's say you remember in the previous case we were using character 32 and then integer. So preferably declare the character first and then the integer, right? So of course, size of the union is again the same example using a local union. Just to clarify the doubt, if we have a 32 byte character and all those things, we can just see in this particular case, I am having a union with three variables: integer, float, and character, right? So the total size will be 4 bytes and 1. So maximum it will occupy 4 bytes. Now you can see, even though a character requires a single byte in the memory and I'm storing this single byte here, it will still lose all other values. So you can see the output. I am first storing 25 in M, which is an integer. So you can see all the other float and character are displaying some random value. So this is a character, down arrow key. Then I'm storing n which is a float. So you can see the float is recovered properly for 0.2, but the others are kept as random values. because the entire memory allocation of 4 bytes is occupied by that particular variable. Then again I'm having a character p. So in this case I'm having the character correctly, but the float integer and the floats are taken as random values. Fine. So just to show the example of a union where it actually shares the memory location, and basically it will be overwritten. So one very small example of enum, I don't know how far it is used these days, but sometimes in programming context you find this particular thing. So let us first see the output and then we will understand what happens here. So enum days of week. Again, using enum, basically you can define your own data type, but basically it assigns numeric constants to the variable. So you can see here, I am having enum Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. For the last object, we do not use any comma, right? Let me just see if you use, does it throw an error? No, it does not throw an error. Fine. So what happens internally, enum will assign 0 to it. So let me just, for your quick reference, this will be 1, 4, 5, and 6. Right. So basically what happens when you do an enum, whatever objects you are declaring in the order of appearance, right? Remember this term, in the order of appearance, this basically will be assigned a value 0, a value 1, a value 2, and so on, increasing by an order of 1. So let's see the output of this code. What happens here? See, I am doing here the number represented by Sunday. So I am displaying the value of Sunday. So you can see the first value is represented by 0. Then the number represented by Saturday. So what is Saturday? Saturday is 6, right? So it is represented by a value 6. Similarly, you can declare a month, you can declare an enum of, let's say, months, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, something like this. So it will be becoming 0 to 11. Remember that in enum, it begins with the variable 0, right? If you want a very a recommendation like something, for example, let's say you can have something like A, and then you can declare Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like this. So in that case, Sunday will become 1 because A will be becoming 0, right? So now let me see, why do we use enum? A very small application is, let's say you want to find the difference between Thursday and Monday, right? How many days there is a difference between day 1 is Monday and Thursday. So we know that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So the difference between Thursday and Monday is 3 days. So now when you do a difference, you are doing day 2 minus day 1. What was in day 2? Day 2 had Thursday, day 1 had Monday. Fine. Now day 2 had Thursday, day 1 had Monday. So what was Monday? Monday was 1 and Thursday was 4. So 4 minus 1 is 3, right? So this is just basically, and then we check day 1 is less than day 2. So basically we are checking Monday is less than Thursday. Yes, 1 is less than 4. So day 1 comes before day 2, right? So this is just a small example of enum. Enum basically application wise, it is just like, January, February, or you can map some things like you can say female as 1, male as 0, right? So the program becomes easier to read, right? For example, I can just say number represented by Sunday is sun, instead of saying number represented by 1 is 1, something like that, right? So just mapping numbers to variables kind of thing. So the last program for today is another example for this. So basically what happens, I am having an enum colors. Again, we have to use a semicolon in the end here. So this is 0, this is 2, and this is 1. Internally, the compiler will load one after the other. Fine. So what is happening here? I am defining enum colors just like we used to define structure person. And then I'm taking two variables C1 and C2. I am assigning C1 as red and C2 as green. Now remember one thing, since these are enum members, you need not specify them as this. This will throw an error because this is now a string and not a enum object. Fine. This is here, C1 is red and C2 is green, right? So we have red, green, right? So what is C2 minus C1? C2 contained green and C1 contained red. So green minus red is 1 minus 0, which is 1. So the difference here will come 1. And what is C2 less than C1 less than C2? What was C1? C1 was red. Red is less than green. Yeah, 0 is less than 1. So it will come, red comes before green. So let us execute the code. So see, red comes before green and the difference is 1. Fine. So again, a very simple concept for enum, right? So guys, the quiz will be on next week, as I said, on Tuesday, and it will be on enum and structures and union. Again, a very simple concept, and please try to practice the program from this particular thing, and you can come across structures. I'm so fed up with this. Right, so come to structures, see the exercise questions, right, and try to just copy paste and try to practice this, right? From section D you can have a very good exercise examples, right? A record contains the name of cricketer, his age, the test match he has played, and the average runs. Create an array of structure. That means whatever array you are having here, and then I'm having an array of structures here. Fine. So please try to use these programs and try to get an idea of how these work, right? So let me just try to copy. It is possible that there might be some errors also in this particular case, but you can just try to fix those basic errors, right? S1.c, unless you are doing it on Windows. So let me just remove this particular line. So you remove the connew.h, and they will be using getch, remove that line. Maybe they are using clr scr also, right? So just try to run the code. See, the code actually runs perfectly, right? So just try to run the code and try to understand. So see, this is an array of structures, right? So I'm defining structure cricketers, and then I'm defining max as 20. So I'm defining structures cricketer India with 20 variables, and I'm defining few of them right here. So qsort is an inbuilt sort function. This is provided in C, and then you are just returning, you are just printing all the 5 variables using a standard for loop, right? C of course gets more hardened with the practice. So these, you are lucky to have all these standard programs, right, written here. Just try to copy paste. Even though the program looks big, it is not so big, right? And you will be having a CS112 lab also on structures, right? Probably this week or next week, right? So I think there are no doubts in the chat session. So I think we can end today 7 minutes before, but okay, today we are completing structures, enum and union. So that's it, guys. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you. You please speak.
Sir, in Calloc and malloc is present in std lib library. Then in one program you have also used malloc.h. Then in malloc.h, what is present?
Acha, then you just use standard library, because I usually take programs from the online, so I must have not have observed. You can just use standard library. No need to use specifically malloc.h, right? stdlib.h is enough for the malloc. Fine. So just let me see using. Let me just open the code for June 10, and then I'm using dynamic allocation. See, in the dynamic allocation, I'm using malloc here, and I'm actually including stdlib.h. So avoid the use of malloc.h. You can directly use stdlib.h, and that should work well, and that should work fine.
Okay, sir.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, while using the enum
Okay.
structure, are the values always starting from zero,
Yes, they
or we
always
can
start
assign
from
some
zero.
variables?
Uh, to what I remember, they start from
Like,
zero, but I think then I will have to Google it. If I want to give specific values. I'm not sure. I will have to check it out. Maybe enum in C start with different value. Are enum value same? Okay, see, so in this particular case, you can see they are actually explicitly assigning enum some specific values. So I think this has your answer. So in the draft C99, they say that if you don't assign any values, it will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But see, in this particular case, enum, this will be given 0, this will be given 1. E2 should have been 2 actually, but they are explicitly assigning it to a value 3, right? So they are assigning two values at 3. E5 they are assigning int max, which they will defining in some header file or something like this. So your answer is yes, they default begin with 0, 1, 2, 3, but you can explicitly start with any value. So technically if you see this can be 3, then this can be 99 also, right? So let us try to check whether we can try. Let's say make it read as 99. Okay, difference is coming as 199, and then maybe, okay, let us keep it 105. Okay, yeah, so see, you can assign your own values, but see, the moment I assigned red as 99, it took green as 100 and blue as 101, right? It took this initial value, because when I'm not giving green as anything, it still gives me the difference as 1, and that means green was assigned a value 100. But when I'm giving green as 105, you can see the difference comes as 6. So a very good question, and the answer is you can assign your own initialization values to enum, and you can keep any value, then I think it should not pop an error, right?
Can you please repeat the 824 lecture example? How does it
Acha, 824. Okay, so that was on Geek for Geeks. So the entire thing, or which part specifically?
I have a doubt in that.
Okay, fine. So what happens, see, technically what happens is the size of a structure is equal to size of the individual elements of the structure. So in this particular case, if you see, here we have a size integer x, which is 4 bytes. We have a double z, which is 8 bytes, and then we have a short int, which is of 2 bytes. So technically the size of the structure should have been 4 plus 8 plus 2, right? So basically 4 plus 8 is 12 and plus 2 is 14. So the size of the structure should have been 14 bytes, but what the compiler outputs is 24 bytes, right? So there is always an issue of alignment in computers. Now why does this alignment issue come, right? So let's say when you are having a character array, which is, let's say you define for 100, and let's say you are storing only AB in that. So how much AB will take? AB will just take 2 bytes in it, right? So the rest of the 98 bytes is basically wasted. Now the computer does not optimize these things internally. The computer will not think that, okay, since only AB is stored, let me now use these 98 bytes to store some integers or float or something like this. It will say, okay, I am dedicating the 100 bytes to you. The rest of the things I will store in some other location. Now see what happens. Assume I am having this. Okay, let me just try to open the dashboard. Some strange issue with my dashboard. It's not working. This is structure. It's not working. Okay, now it's working. So now we had integer x, double z and short y. So we had integer x and short y. So what happens here? We have 4 bytes here, we have 8 bytes here, and we have 2 bytes here. The summation should be 14. Now what happens here is like when you allot 4 bytes to the memory location, right? I am allotting 4 bytes. So what the compiler will do, now it will think that I need to allot everything in terms of 4 because it encountered integer x. So it assumes all of them will be integer or less than integer. So what it encounters 8 bytes, right? Since the first was an integer, the compiler first tries to create a 4 byte space, right? A 4 byte space. Now it checks that, okay, can I fix a 8 byte double here? No, because I have only available 4 byte, right? So this space it leaves as blank. Now it knows that in order to assign 8 bytes, I need a box of 8. So now it assigns a complete 8 byte box to it, right? Now what is the last encountered size? The last encountered size is 8 bytes, right? And what is the max size now? Amongst 4 and 8, it is 8 bytes. Now just to ensure that everything is in place, henceforth the compiler will actually allot 8 bytes even though the next encountered is 2 bytes. Now even though this shortend is 2 bytes, what is the maximum that I encountered here? The maximum that I encountered here is 8 bytes. So now what happens? This 2 bytes will only take this particular memory location, right? And so this particular location now will be wasted, even though the structure will allot basically 24 bytes to it, but this particular memory location is no longer useful to us now, right? Why? Because we did a bad programming practice of assigning this double in the middle. Now what does structure theory says that? Structure theory says that whatever variables you are using in the program, use them in descending order. So what is descending order? The highest is double, double is 8, then we have integer which is 4, and then we have shortend which is 2. Now let us see how the allocation takes place. It first of all encounters double, so it gives 8 bytes to it. Okay, 8 bytes. Now just to maintain the alignment issue, I will again allot 8 bytes because the max size encounter till now is 8 bytes, right? So again it allots 8 bytes, but now it sees that integer only require 4 bytes, right? And I still have 4 bytes remaining with me, right? Now it sees that, okay, I am encountering a short integer. So what it will say, okay, I have some space here, so I will allot 2 bytes here. Guys, just a second. So it will allot 2 bytes here. Now just imagine one more case. Now let's say you come across something like double 8, integer 4, and again you come across a double thing. So what will happen? This double will allot 8 bytes here, then followed by an integer which is again given 8 bytes, but integer will come here 4. Now it sees that double has come, so this will be again wasted and the double will basically come across 8. So again in this particular case we will have a 24 byte allocation. So whenever you are doing a structure element, you just compute the individual size and keep the highest or equal sizes above, then the lower, and then the lowest size. So this is how you basically proceed in structures, and that is what it's shown in this particular diagram. See, in the next case, when we have double, integer and short, it basically optimizes. Now in this case, if you had declared another short variable here, let's say short int b, it would have taken 2 bytes, so it would have just come across this and the entire structure memory location would have been packed. right? So I hope this makes it clear. You just go
So
through
in the
this.
first example,
Yes.
uh, which you have described on the whiteboard.
Okay.
Yeah, in the first example, if integer would have been taken 3 bytes, then would it be 9 byte space in the first row, or it would
No.
have been 6?
How could you take an
If
integer of 3 bytes?
if if there would be any data type which would take 3 bytes.
Okay, if it would have been taken in 3 bytes, right? So
Yeah.
usually, okay, hypothetically not possible, but okay. So when you were keeping 3 bytes, because see, in the next data type was 8 bytes. So in that case, your 5 bytes would have been wasted, and then it would have been followed by 8 bytes,
Okay.
right? So let's say hypothetically you define a character array of 3, right? And then you keep a double of z, right? So 3 bytes would have been occupied. Then because the next element is 8 bytes, you cannot fix the 8 byte element into a 3 byte character array. So it will skip the 5 bytes to maintain the alignment and then assign 8 bytes, and then so on,
Okay.
so on and so forth. So that's it.
Yes.
Okay then guys, thank you, and you can exit the meeting.